And good afternoon. You're listening to Ken Hudnall. This is the Ken Hudnall Show. Coming to you from our studios right here in exciting El Paso, Texas. Gateway to the Old West and the most haunted city in the country. Well, today's February the 4th, the 35th day of the year. 330 days remain to the year's over with. Holidays observances. National Homemade Soup Day. National Hemp Day. Medjool Date Day. Facebook's birthday. You know, I was banned from Facebook for not being liberal enough. National Sweater Day. USO Day. Transit Equity Day. International Day of Human Fraternity. Liberace Day. National Wicker Day. I Heart Horror Day. That's cinema's darker side. National Thank a Mail Carrier Day. Creative Vacuum Day. National Stuffed Mushroom Day. African American Coaches Day. Quacker Day. Torture Abolition Day. Need to do away with treadmills. World Cancer Day. Women's Heart Week. Children's Mental Health Week. World Interfaith Harmony Week. Publicity for Profit Week. Tinnitus Awareness Week. La Poutine Week. National Storytelling Week. National Green Week. Tapati Rapa Nui Festival. That's a festival that's based in Easter Island. Held every year in early February. It's a 2-week event. Brings the island to life with traditional Polynesian music and dancing and competitions. Pay Your Bills Week. International Networking Week. Feeding Tube Awareness Week. National School Counseling Week. Boy Scouts Anniversary Week. The Boy Scouts have been part of the U.S. since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. They greatly improved the lives of others by instilling good morals and life skills needed to succeed in life. But not many folks outside the Boy Scouts organization know or care or even understand what these folks can do for the communities. You can actually host a Boy Scout Week event. Burn Awareness Week. Solo Diners Eat Out Week. National Patient Recognition Week. African Heritage and Health Week. Pride and Food Service Week. Famous people born on this date. Rosa Parks, leader in the fight against inequality. Wouldn't give up her seat on the bus. Alice Cooper. I'm not really sure what to say about Alice Cooper. Nicole Wallace, who was she was born February 4th, 1972. Gained attention in the political world where her stars shone brightly. Transitioned to a career in the media, becoming a face on television. Her story is fascinating. Reflects a dynamic blend of political insight, media savvy, and knowing the right people. February 4th is part of International Vegan Cuisine Month, American Heart Month, National Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, National Snack Food Month, Spay Neuter Awareness Month. If you get spayed or neutered, I'm sure you'll be aware of it. Now for National African American Read-In, National Children's Dental Health Month, Human Relations Month, National Macadamia Nut Month, Feline Fixed by 5 Month, Exotic Vegetables and Starfruit Month, Berry Fresh Month, National Therapeutic Recreation Month, Marijuana Awareness Month, National Goat Yoga Month. You haven't lived till you take part in goat yoga. Financial Aid Awareness Month, Adopt a Rescued Rabbit Month, National Mend a Broken Heart Month, National Wedding Month, Canned Food Month, North American Inclusion Month, National Black History Month, Reynolds Awareness Month, Unazat of the Heart Month, Spiritual Teachers Month, Pull Your Sofa Off the Wall Month, National Laugh Friendly Month, National Senior Independence Month, National Enrolled Agents Month, National Care About Your Indoor Air Month, International Boost Self-Esteem Month, Free Open Source Software Month, From Africa to Virginia Month, National Sweet Potato Month, National Avocado and Banana Month, Fabulous Florida Strawberry Month, National Cancer Prevention Month, Cholangiocarcinoma Awareness Month. That is, raises awareness about bile duct cancer. Apparently, you can get cancer in places most of us never heard of. Spunky Old Broads Month, National Blockbuster Month, Ethnic Equality Month, National Cat Health Month, Humpback Whale Awareness Month, Dog Training Education Month, National Prevent Litter Month, Declutter for a Cause Month, Creative Romance Month, and Affair to Remember Month, National Women Inventors Month, National Embroidery Month, Youth Leadership Month, Haiku Writing Month. Somebody asked me what that actually meant. It's a celebration of the art of haiku. It's a time when people are encouraged to write at least one haiku every day for a month. It's a simple yet rewarding activity. It fuels your creativity. You write poems on painted canvas, decorate them with drawings or digital art. It's a blend of words and visuals. Adds another level to your experience. Love the Bus Month, Jobs and Golf Month, Potato Lovers Month, Celebration of Chocolate Month, Barley Month, Wise Healthcare Consumer Month, National Self-Check Month, National Condom Month. You know, we were going to send $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza. What will they do without them? National Parent Leadership Month, Pet Dental Health Month, Relationship Wellness Month, National Grapefruit Month, Low Vision Awareness Month, National Fasting February, Return Shopping Carts to the Supermarket Month, Great American Pie Month, National Cherry Month, National Bake for Family Fun Month, National Bird Feeding Month, National Hot Breakfast Month, National Library Lovers Month, and Harley Quinn Month. All that having been said, on February 4th in the year 211 A.D., following the death of the Roman Emperor Septimius Severus at Eboracum in modern York, England, while preparing to lead a campaign against the Caledonians, the empire is left in control of his two sons who did not get along, Caracalla and Geta, whom he had instructed to make peace. 960, Zhao Guanyin declares himself Emperor Tazu of Song, ending the later Zhao and beginning the Song dynasty. 1169, a strong earthquake strikes the Ionian coast of Sicily, caused tens of thousands of deaths and injuries, especially in Catania. 1454, 13 Years' War. The Secret Council of the Prussian Confederation sends a formal act of disobedience to the Grand Master of the Teutonic Knights. That sparked the 13 Years' War. The Teutonic Knights was the German version of the Knights Templar. 1555, John Rogers is burned at the stake, becoming the first English Protestant martyr to Mary I of England. 1703, in Edo, which is now Tokyo, all but one of the 47 Ronin commit seppuku. That's ritual suicide, don't you know? As recompense for avenging their master's death. 1758, in the city of Macapa in Brazil, is founded by Sebastiano Veiga Cabral. 1789, George Washington is unanimously elected the first president of the United States by the U.S. Electoral College. 1794, the French legislature abolishes slavery throughout all the territories of the French First Republic, be reestablished in the French West Indies in 1802. 1797, the Riobamba earthquake strikes Ecuador, caused up to 40,000 casualties. 1801, John Marshall is sworn in as the Chief Justice of the U.S. 1810, Napoleonic Wars, Britain seizes Guadeloupe. 1820, the Chilean Navy under the command of Lord Cochrane completes the 2-day-long capture of Valdivia with just 300 men and 2 ships. 1825, the Ohio legislature authorizes the construction of the Ohio and Erie Canal and the Miami and Erie Canal. 1846, the first Mormon pioneers make their exodus from Nauvoo, Illinois, westwards towards Salt Lake Valley. 1859, the Codex Sinaiticus is discovered in Egypt. It was designated by Siglum. It's also called the Sinai Bible. It's a 4th century Christian manuscript of a Greek Bible containing the majority of the Greek Old Testament, including the Deuterocanonical books and the Greek New Testament, but both the Epistle of Barnabas and the Shepherd of Hermas included. It's written in uncial letters on parchment. It's one of the 4 great uncial codices. These being manuscripts originally contained the whole of both the Old and New Testament. It's one of the earliest and most complete manuscripts of the Bible, and contains the oldest complete copy of the New Testament. It's frankly, a historical treasure. (1861), American Civil War. In Montgomery, Alabama, delegates from 6 breakaway U.S. states meet and initiate the process that would form the Confederate States of America. It was officially formed February the 8th, but they laid the groundwork February 4th. 1899, the Philippine-American War begins when 4 Filipino soldiers entered the American zone in Manila, igniting the Battle of Manila. 1932, the Second Sino-Japanese War. Harbin, Manchuria falls to Japan on this date. 1838, Adolf Hitler appoints himself as head of the Armed Forces High Command. 1941, the United Service Organization, or the USO, is created to entertain American troops. On this day in 1945, during World War II, Santo Tomas internment camp was liberated from Japanese authority. It was also known as the Manila internment camp, the largest of the camps in the Philippines in which the Japanese interned enemy civilians, mostly Americans, during World War II. Campus of the University of Santo Tomas in Manila was utilized for the camp. Housed more than 3,000 internees from January 42 to February 45. Conditions deteriorated during the war, and by the time of the liberation of the camp by the U.S. Army, a lot of the internees were near death from lack of food. Also in 1945, on this date, World War II, the Yalta Conference between the Big Three, Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin, opened up at the Levadia Palace in the Crimea. Also on this date, 1945, World War II, the British Indian Army and the Imperial Japanese Army began a series of battles known as the Battle of Pokoku and Irrawaddy River operations. 1948, Ceylon, later called Sri Lanka, becomes independent within the British Commonwealth. 1961, Angola War of Independence and the Greater Portuguese Colonial War began. 1966, All Nippon Airways Flight 60 plunges into Tokyo Bay, killed 133 people. 1967, Lunar Orbiter Program. Lunar Orbiter 3 lifts off from Cape Canaveral's Launch Complex 13 on its mission to identify possible landing sites for the Surveyor and Apollo spacecraft. 1974, the Symbionese Liberation Army kidnapped Patty Hearst in Berkeley, California. 1974, M62 coach bombing. Provisional Irish Republican Army, the IRA, explodes a bomb on a bus carrying off-duty British Armed Forces personnel in Yorkshire, England. 9 soldiers and 3 civilians were killed. 1975, Haicheng earthquake, 7.3 on the Richter scale, occurs in Haicheng, Liaoning, China. 1976, in Guatemala and Honduras, an earthquake kills more than 22,000 people. 1977, Chicago Transit Authority elevated train rear-ends another and derails. It killed 11, injured 180. It was the worst accident in the agency's history. 1992, a coup d'etat is led by Hugo Chavez against Venezuelan President Carlos Andrés Perez. 1997, en route to Lebanon, 2 Israeli Sikorsky CH-53 troop transport helicopters collide in midair over northern Galilee, kill 73 people. In 1997, the Bajnur earthquake, which measures 6.5, struck Iran, had a Mercalli intensity of 8, killed 88 people and damaged 173 villages. 1998, a 5.9 Afghanistan earthquake shakes the Takhar province with a maximum Mercalli intensity of 7, which is considered very strong. 2,323 were killed, 818 injured. Damage was considered extreme. 1999, unnamed West African immigrant Amadou Diallo shot 41 times by 4 plainclothes New York City police officers on an unrelated stakeout. And that, of course, inflamed already damaged race relations in the city. 2000, World Summit Against Cancer for the New Millennium. The Charter of Paris is signed by President of France, Jacques Chirac, and the Director General of the UNESCO, Koichiro Matsuura, initiating World Cancer Day, which is held on February 4th every year. 2003, the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia adopted a new constitution, becoming a loose confederacy between Montenegro and Serbia. 2004, Facebook, a mainstream online social networking site, is founded by Mark Zuckerberg and Eduardo Saverin, and it took a hard turn to the left. 2008, civic mobilizations in Colombia against FARC under the name A Million Voices Against the FARC took place on this date. 2015, TransAsia Airways Flight 235 with 58 people on board en route from Taiwanese capital Taipei to Kinmen crashes into the Keelung River just after takeoff, killed 43 people. And in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic causes all casinos in Macau to be closed down for 15 days. And it definitely had an impact here, let me tell you. Disgraced Hollywood producer David Pierce has been found guilty of the murder of friends Christy Giles and Hilda Cabrales Arzola during a drug-fueled party at his Beverly Hills homes. Giles was a 24-year-old model and aspiring actress, and 26-year-old Cabrales Arzola, a Mexican-born architect, overdosed on a cocktail of drugs before their lifeless bodies were dumped outside 2 Los Angeles hospitals on November 14, 2021. That news just hit today. All right, let's go to our finished our little history segment. Let's look at the news. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu are holding talks right now in the White House. President Trump said he left instructions in case he's assassinated, since Iran had apparently put an assassination plan into operation. He said if Iran attempts an assassination or succeeds, they get literally obliterated. There'll be nothing left. The LAPD union frustrated as no arrests are made after officers are injured during the anti-ICE protest. After several LA police officers were injured by rioters during the anti-ICE protest on Sunday and Monday, the department's largest union, representing most rank-and-file officers, hopes the communications breakdown will be investigated. A statement was given. The arrest of individuals who are attacking police officers should be a no-brainer for any competent incident commander. But apparently, that did not happen. Well, Schumer has become the go-to individual to oppose Trump. In regard to the tariffs, the Democrats trot Schumer out to counter Trump after it was claimed that his proposed tariffs would affect avocado and beer. Well, and Jon Stewart of the, I think he's got the Daily Show, took aim at Senator Schumer, Democrat from New York, after the Democratic Senate Minority Leader responded to President Trump's tariffs by telling Americans it would impact beer and guacamole sales. And Stewart said, your response to the trade war is to tell us guacamole is made out of avocados? Nobody ever said that these politicians are rocket scientists, but please. The Walmart has cut hundreds of jobs, relocated other employees to main hubs. They plan to open new offices in California and Washington, and expand offices in the New York metro area. They're trying to increase their profit margin. Trump's price for U.S. military aid to Ukraine was called fair by Zelensky. Zelensky said Ukraine was open to trade critical raw earth materials in exchange for U.S. military aid. Now, Zelensky said what he had been promised by the previous administration was $100 million short when it got there. Turns out, a list has been circulated showing how many politicians got what amounts to kickbacks out of the aid money. Well, there was a mass shooting in Sweden. The Prime Minister has declared it the worst mass shooting in Swedish history. A gunman killed 10 people in the campus shooting, and an unconfirmed number of others are injured. It's not known whether the shooter was among the injured or the dead. Police say the shooting took place at the Risbergska school in Örebro, Sweden, and they're urging local residents to stay away from that area. Police haven't identified the deceased yet, and they say they think the shooter's among those transported to the hospitals. It was an adult education center meant for those who didn't complete primary or secondary school. The school also offers Swedish language classes for migrants. The The investigation is somewhat confused, according to the local head of police. It's unclear whether the shooting took place inside the building or whether there may be more than one perpetrator. I don't know why lunatics have to go on start shooting people. President Trump is discussing the elimination of the Education Department, which has got the head of the Education Union, American Federation of Teachers, President Randy Weingarten, has gone on an anti-Trump rant. All right. The Ohio governor has ordered government employees to return to the office. No more working from home. He's following President Trump's lead. Somebody told me only less than 10% of government employees in Washington actually work in the office. FBI agents detailed their January 6th role and a very thorough questionnaire. It involved thousands of FBI employees. The anti-Trump crowd had a fine old time during under Biden. Nobody anticipated Trump would be reelected. Credit card interest rates have gotten out of control. Trump made a campaign pledge to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. And Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders, of all people, have gotten together to propose a bill to cap the credit card interest rate. There's new blood tests that can detect common cancer types. So the colon cancer was the second most common type of cancer in the U.S. It was identified with 80% accuracy by this new blood test. Well, let's see. I'm checking through all the different stories. Michael Jordan's son was arrested and charged with multiple charges, including cocaine possession. Being the son of a famous man does not shield you from arrest. FBI agents have sued Trump's DOJ to block any public identification of employees who actually worked on the January 6 investigations. They want to turn law into lawfare, but they don't want anybody to know about it. They say any attempt to review or discriminate against FBI agents who worked on the January 6 cases is unlawful and retaliatory. A group of 9 FBI agents filed this lawsuit today, seeking to block the public identification of any FBI employees who worked on the investigation. They filed the lawsuit anonymously in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. They said any effort to review or discriminate against FBI employees involved in the investigation would be unlawful and retaliatory and a violation of the civil service protections under federal law. Well, Tulsi Gabbard is well on the way to being confirmed for her position. I said that President Trump was meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. There are 3 things on the agenda that could change the Middle East. They're really not discussing what those 3 things are. They just said there were 3 things. He is the first foreign leader to visit the White House since Trump came back to the Oval Office. one house in California, when the family returned after the fires, they found a 525-pound bear hiding under the house. It was removed to a safer location. All right. On that note, we come to the end of our little news segment. I try to make you aware of the more important pending news stories, in my humble opinion. We've been talking about UFOs in our last show. There have been so many stories about UFOs. It's the largest mass UFO sighting in Alaska took place April 6, 1966. Not Alaska, Australia. I'm sorry. I can't read my own handwriting. Took place April 6, 1966. Students and teachers at Westall High School in Melbourne, Australia, saw 3 metallic objects glide through the sky and land in a nearby pasture before they zipped off into the sky. When the witnesses inspected the landing spot, they found large circles of flattened grass. Some even claimed that the grass was charred. Within 20 to 30 minutes after the landing, military, the police, and the fire brigade were at the scene. One witness told news reporters that they weren't allowed to talk to the media. And the headmaster of the school, speaking on behalf of the students and teachers, said, "We didn't see nothing." Well, this incident at Westall High School is often called Australia's largest mass UFO sighting. A lot of witnesses periodically gather at reunions to swap memories and accounts. Now, of course, one possible explanation is the object was a weather balloon. It had been launched in the area that morning. But a lot of folks believe it looked too much like a spacecraft, and the government's gone to great lengths to cover it up. According to researcher Shane Ryan, it was so unusual. He talked to 100 of the witnesses. He said it occurred in broad daylight and had been seen by so many people landing on the ground before it took off again. If it was a weather balloon, it would not have landed and taken back off. Now, interestingly enough, I got an email. And yes, I can be emailed. You go to my website, kenhudnall.com. There'll be a blog. We'll get everything up and running. I've had a couple of websites hacked, so I'm very leery about giving too much information. But I was asked, what are the best places to see a UFO? Now, one place is Wycliffe Well in Australia. It's one of the flattest places on the planet. Got a perfect 360-degree view of the night sky. It's known as the Roswell of the Outback. It's Australia's sparsely populated northern territory. It's reported UFO sightings since the 1940s and actually welcomes visitors to the area's only lodgings. It's a campground with a whimsical road sign leads caution, proceed with care, UFO landing site ahead. Then we've got Varginha in Brazil, one of Brazil's major coffee centers, has a reputation as a UFO hotspot. 1996, 3 women claimed to have spotted a big-headed, 2-legged creature with red balls for eyes, and they first thought it was the devil, but finally they came to believe it was an alien. One woman said she was even impregnated by the ET. That would be hard to explain at the family reunion, of course. Then you got Kalokala in Thailand. You have to ask yourself, are aliens practicing Buddhist? That's the belief of UFO enthusiasts who flock to this particular hill in central Thailand. They hope to catch a glimpse of ETs hovering in their craft over a huge gold Buddha statue before plunging into a crocodile-filled lake said to be a portal to a pair of planets, Pluto and Loku. Takes all kinds, folks. Then in Scotland, we got Bonnybridge. It's a village in the lowlands of Scotland. Has about 300 UFO sightings a year, attributed to the region's reputation as a window into another dimension. Might also have something to do with the fact that a lot of military flight tests take place in that remote region. Then in France, we got Valensole. Come for the scenery and stay for the UFOs. The hamlet of Valensole in Haute province is the site of France's most famous close encounter. In this incident, a farmer claimed he was briefly paralyzed in 1965 by two grunting beings in a tubular craft that left what some believe are landing gear impressions in the dirt. Then in Romania, we've got Hoia Baciu Forest, 1968. Picnickers photographed black and white images of what appeared to be a metallic disc hovering over the treetops. That's just one of many strange phenomena in this grove where a girl said to have disappeared for 5 years, only to reappear with no memory whatsoever of what it may have happened to her. We got Imlacen in Poland. There's a stone memorial with a plaque that marks the spot in southeastern Poland where a farmer named Jan Wolski claimed a pair of short, green-faced humanoid entities commandeered his cart and brought him on board a bus-sized spaceship in 1978. They said he was given a full physical examination and fed icicles. This memorial to the Emilson abduction reads, "The truth will astonish us in the future." Well, it may well do that. And then we have San Clemente, Chile. This region's high up in the Andes, claims to have had hundreds of UFO sightings since the 1990s. Drives a cottage industry of ET-themed hotels and restaurants and campgrounds, and there's even a UFO trail that takes hikers to a spot where 233 stones are said to have been a landing pad for spaceships. You have to wonder. Everybody can't be crazy. Well, man and his friend went camping in Arkansas. What happened became a book called Incident at Devil's Den, a true story by Terry Lovelace. During his 40-year career as assistant attorney general in Vermont and a defense attorney, he clung to a secret that had haunted his dreams for years. In 1977, he said he was a Navy medic. He claimed he and a friend that he only identifies as Toby were abducted by aliens during a camping trip to Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. And for decades, Lovelace never told anybody but his wife. He feared he'd be branded a crackpot and that'd destroy his legal career. But once he retired, he shared his story in his 2018 book, Incident at Devil's Den, a true story. He said, he was asked, what was the first thing you and Toby saw while camping that night? He said, I looked, and on the western horizon there was a tight little group of 3 stars that were very, very bright. All the same luminosity. They took the shape of a triangle and rotated. The base of the triangle that we were looking at was parallel with the horizon. He said, I asked Toby, what is that? And they were too far off the ground to have been lights from a train or anything else. And then the lights started to go up into the air, and this is where things got strange, he said. He felt a mild sensation of sedation. It wasn't an unpleasant feeling that was just watching as this triangular configuration of lights changed. The apex of the triangle was pointed at him and started to glide down in their direction. It came over and parked over their tent, right above them, about 3,000 feet over the tent. And there came down a red laser-like light that danced on top of everything. The cooler, the tent, his car, Toby's backpack. And that's when he got hit in the chest. He said it didn't hurt. He transitioned from that sedated feeling to being sleepy. All he wanted to do was go in the tent and go to sleep. And he said then in a moment he was asleep. Don't know how long he was asleep. What woke him up was this cascade of white and yellow and orange lights flashing through the canvas of the tent. Then he realized his combat boots were unlaced. He's certain when he fell asleep he had laced up almost to the top, and he didn't take them off at all. It dawned on him that they'd been undressed and then redressed. Looked out the tent, and that thing in the air, that triangle that descended, was now about 30 feet off the ground. It was as big as a Walmart with lights on each point of the triangle. A row of what appeared to be lights with dim lighting in the back of it, and they could see figures moving around on the ground. He thought they were children, but all these little guys very slowly made their way toward this thing. They'd step in twos and threes, and that's the point. It went from sedated to fear. He said, we saw this triangle thing take off, and it didn't take off like a rocket ship. It just lifted up like a hot air balloon and made a slight turn and went straight up. The higher it went, the faster it went, and they watched it till there was 3 lights and then a single dot of light in the air, and then it was gone. Well, turns out both of them had been, as he described it, burned to a crisp. His skin was red, and he never blistered, but his entire body, soles of his feet, everywhere was red. Doctor later said it was sunburn or dehydration. He said he grabbed his wallet, and Toby grabbed his slightly operable flashlight, and the two of them ran to his car, jumped in, and got out of there. They left his tent, the backpack, and everything right there. They were getting gone. They were just relieved to be alive, and they made a pact on their trip back that they'd never tell a soul what they saw a UFO the size of a Walmart. Well, in 1977, on active duty with the U.S. Air Force in a nuclear base, they would have sent them out for a psychological evaluation. They'd have been discharged. He didn't want that. He wanted to finish his enlistment, get his GI Bill so he could pay for college. And they didn't want the ridicule that goes with saying you saw a UFO. Well, he said his wife believed him. She knew him. She didn't think he'd do such a thing to make up a fairy story. They had a discussion about what they could tell folks, how it would complicate their lives. And they didn't want any complications at all. They just wanted to quietly let him finish out his enlistment, finish undergrad, go to law school, and that's what he did. Part of the problem with seeing a UFO, the government's gone out of its way to laugh at everybody. And there's been a lot of folks that have become household names that have been involved with UFO sightings. Barney and Betty Hill, for example, both recall being probed with needles and losing consciousness when they were abducted. They've been called the Adam and Eve of abduction, and their tale of being medically examined in a flying saucer by gray-skinned human-like beings with blue lips has become a part of popular culture, a template for all those that followed. It was 1961. Clear night. Betty and Barney were driving across the New Hampshire countryside when they saw a light descend and hovered in front of the car. Looking through the binoculars, Barney could see a row of figures standing in the windows of a large craft looking down at him. And then everything got fuzzy and the couple said they lost consciousness. When they came to and drove home, Betty endured horrible dreams about humanoids scraping away her skin and taking fingernail samples and probing her belly button with a needle before putting them back in her car. In hypnosis, she recalled a similar experience. She said, and then Barney was also hypnotized, and he said much the same thing. He said they were just there. They were just up close to him, pressing down against his eyes. When they went public their story in 1963, they became celebrities, even as they faced relentless skepticism. Some suggested it was the result of their exhaustion from driving. They misconstrued an aircraft warning beacon with a UFO, and Barney had false memories shaped by Betty's nightmares. Well, the couple, who were community leaders, always rejected suggestions they dreamed up the abduction. In later years, Betty became a leader in UFO research and claimed she experienced more ET visitations. Now, the next story I'm going to discuss happened to somebody I know, Travis Walton. He worked with me in filming the first season of a TV series that at some point in time is scheduled for broadcast. It's called Beyond Roswell. Travis went missing for an entire week after running toward a bright light. He was part of a 7-man logging crew. They drove down a forest road, November 5th, 1975. Saw a strange light hovering just over the ground and watched as hard as one of their crewmates, 22-year-old Travis Walton, jumped out of the truck and ran toward the light. The rest decided to get out of there. But about 15 minutes later, they came back and discovered that Walton had disappeared. For the next 5 days, sheriff's deputies searched Arizona's Apache Sitgreaves National Forest for the missing logger, while the others faced sharp questioning about whether they had killed him and made up the UFO sighting. Well, on November 12th, just after midnight, Walton called his sister, Colette, from a payphone in Heber, Arizona. That was not far from where he had last been seen. Had a fantastic story, being abducted by aliens, subjected to medical examinations. Well, his story garnered international press and decades of allegations. He made it all up with the help of his buddies for money and attention. Doubters noted Walton had been a longtime UFO fanatic, almost immediately told the story to the National Enquirer. Others claimed the tale may have been inspired by a TV movie about Betty and Barney Hill. It had aired shortly before Travis Walton said he'd been abducted. But he's never changed from his tale. Excuse me. I don't know what's wrong. But he's never wavered from his tale. He's written 2 books, inspired a movie called Fire in the Sky, appeared on numerous television programs, and said over and over what he calls unequivocally the best documented case of alien abduction ever recorded. He's an interesting individual. Now, let's turn from Travis Walton to two individuals, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker. First, they thought the cops were after him, they said. They were seeing blue lights flashing as they fished off a pier on Mississippi's Pascagoula River night of October 11th, 1973. They were sure somebody thought they were trespassing. Then they heard a hissing sound and saw an oval-shaped object, more than 30 feet across, hovering overhead. 3 creatures with wrinkly gray skin and no legs descended and snatched the men up with claw-like hands, lifting them up into a spacecraft where they were poked and prodded. Parker was 19 at the time and said, "I think they injected us with something to calm us down." He was interviewed by the Clarion Ledger in 2018. He said he felt paralyzed but fully awake as they were abducted. He said, "I was kind of numb, went along with the program." After they were poked and prodded by a machine that looked like a huge eyeball before passing out, they blacked out again and found themselves lying back on the riverbank, uncertain whether to tell anybody what had happened because the experience was so unbelievable. Hickson, who was 42 at the time of the incident, said, "I've never seen that sort of fear on a man's face as I saw in Calvin's. Took me a while to get him back to his senses. First thing I said to him was, 'Son, ain't nobody going to believe this. Let's just keep this whole thing to ourselves.' The more I thought about it, the more I thought I had to let some officials know about it." Well, of course, as you might suspect, their abduction story didn't impress the local authorities, but it did give them instant fame. Hickson appeared on a game show to tell the truth and authored a book, while Parker became a regular on UFO conventions and produced UFO-themed TV shows. And the fact they refused to take a polygraph led many to doubt their story, but the locals rallied around the men who have both since died. They put up a historical marker at the site of the alleged abduction in 2019. That same year, 3 more witnesses came forward to say they saw some sort of flying object that night, and a sheriff's captain who interviewed the pair hours after the incident insisted to the Clarion Ledger that Parker was genuinely scared. They couldn't make that up. Well, let's talk about the man known as the father of the abduction movement. That's artist Bud Hopkins. Spent years researching UFO encounters, including the story of Linda Napolitano. Well, when Bud Hopkins died in 2011 at the age of 80, his obituaries remembered him first for his art. He was a painter and a sculptor, renowned abstract expressionist artist. His work in the collections of the world's leading museums. But for Hopkins, his art was inextricably linked to his fascination with UFO abductees. While he never claimed to have been kidnapped by aliens, he did claim to have witnessed a UFO and started in 1975 collected stories from people, often under hypnosis, who not only also reported sightings but claimed to have been snatched away by ETs. As the New York Times wrote, Hopkins is widely credited with having begun the alien abduction movement, a subgenre of UFO studies. He claimed that 1 in 50 Americans have been abducted without even knowing it. Well, he asserted aliens are visiting Earth to mate with humans to boost their dying race. Hopkins said the visitors, as he called them, are incapable of understanding the psychological damage inflicted on their victims. Those victims are often left traumatized, and when they go public, they're belittled, laughed at, and disbelieved. The idea that something like that is made up by a publicity seeker or whatever skeptics like to say is just absolutely absurd, he told the PBS. He said, "I've worked with some of these folks after and referred them to other investigators, and I think we've brought some relief for them in helping them explore what really did happen in their lives." Hopkins' work is recently in the spotlight thanks to the Netflix documentary, The Manhattan Alien Abduction. I told the story of Linda Napolitano, who claimed to have been kidnapped by aliens from her New York City apartment in 1989. She shared her story with Hopkins, who wrote the 1996 book Witness, the true story of a Brooklyn Bridge abduction. He said he found more than a dozen people saw Napolitano hovering above her building. Hopkins' former wife, filmmaker Carol Rainey, didn't believe Napolitano's tale and spent years trying to debunk her story. In October 2024, Napolitano sued Netflix, claiming the documentary defamed her, painted her as an unflattering light, and stole the work of an author who'd First wrote about her story more than 20 years ago. There's a lot more to the story than, of course, will ever be known. Well, we've come to the end of today's show. We've run out of time. We'll be back tomorrow and talk more about UFO abductions and people disappearing and all kinds of strange things. Till then, Ken Hudnall for the Ken Hudnall Show saying have a truly great evening.